Hi, welcome to our channel of IGNOU audiobooks, Indira Gandhi National Open University. School of Education, SOE. Diploma Post-Graduate Diploma Programs. Post-Graduate Diploma in Educational Management and Administration, DEMA. Core Courses. MES 041 Growth and Development of Educational Management. Block-1 Introduction to Educational Management. UNIT-1 Educational Management, an Overview. 1.1 Introduction. 1.1 Introduction. In different phases of our lives, each one of us is associated with one kind of organization or the other: a school, a college, a religious or civic organization, any sports club, etc. Some organizations like the college and school are very formally structured, while others like a local cricket team are less formally structured. But irrespective of the differences, all the organizations have some common basic features. That is to say that in each organization people work together and try to achieve collective objectives, a specific goal or set of goals or purpose through their integrated efforts. However, to integrate these efforts, running such activities or organizations, in this process and activity, management is needed so that they can attain their objectives. It is only through efficient management, a group activity can be planned, organized, directed, controlled and unified so that the objectives can be achieved. Today, at every place where we talk of getting things done through collective efforts, we find management. In fact, the future of the society depends upon the efficiency of management. 1.2 Objectives. After going through this unit, you should be able to describe the nature of management, explain the concept of educational management, put forward the arguments for supporting educational management as a specialized area of study, highlight the characteristics of educational management, explain the functions of educational management, identify the skills required by managers for effective management of educational institutions, and appreciate the role of educational management as an instrument of attainment of educational goals. 1.3 Defining management. The theories and practices of educational management draw their inspiration to a considerable extent from general administration and management. It would therefore be important to first define the term management. It is difficult to define management precisely because of the lack of agreement among various thinkers over the exact nature, scope and functions of management. The economists look at management as one of the factors of production together with land, labor and capital. Sociologists view management as a class or group of persons, and specialists in management and administration, particularly practitioners, regard management as a system of authority. Nevertheless, some working definition of management can be attempted. The term management is commonly used in different contexts. When we say that management of some organization has taken a certain decision, we refer to a group of persons. When we say that a person is pursuing a program in management, we refer to management as a field of study. In this context, it is the warehouse of the knowledge and practice of managing an organization. Further, as an activity, it refers to the functions of planning, coordination, directing, supervision, staffing and controlling. Thus, the term may be referred to as follows: management as a field of study, management as a team or class of people, times management as a process. 1st March 2001 Management as a field of study. Management is both an art and a science. It is regarded as an art because the performance of managerial functions requires certain skills which are a personal possession. It is regarded as a science because it has developed certain principles, generalizations and techniques which have more or less universal application. That is why in universities and colleges it is studied as a discipline. As a discipline it consists of specific body of knowledge, skills, techniques and principles which the students of management study. Thus, when one says she/he is a student of management, it means that she/he is pursuing a particular field of learning. 1st March 2002 Management as a team or class of people. Here the management is referred to as individual or group of individuals occupying managerial positions. Generally management as a group is classified into 3 parts. Patrimonial or family management, also known as feudal, dynastic or proprietary management. This is the oldest management class. In this the owners become managers and different family members occupy managerial positions. For example, in India in many privately managed educational institutions this form of management still exists. This system suits the medium and small-sized units. Political management. This system is quite frequent in Indian public sector organizations. These are established by the political party in power and the party enjoys the right to manage them. The general policy is made by the government and the top-level managers are also appointed by it. Times professional management. Here the owners provide initial financial resources and well-qualified and trained managers who are paid employees and are appointed through selection based on their professional competence to manage the organization. 1st March 2003 Management as a process. In studying management as a process, various managerial activities are taken as a basis for defining management. There are many definitions of management which emphasize one or the other important aspects of management activity. Mars Parker Follett, 1868 to 1933, who wrote on the topic in the early 20th century, defined management as the art of getting things done through people. This definition is incomplete as it reflects as if employees are mere means to certain ends, which is not true. One cannot overlook the needs and aspirations of the people working in the organization. According to Harold Kuntz and Cyril O'Donnell, management is the art of getting things done through and with people in formally organized groups. It is the art of creating an environment in which people can perform as individuals and yet cooperate towards attainment of group goals. It is the art of removing obstacles or blocks to such performance, a way of optimizing efficiency in reaching goals. Management is thus the art of directing and inspiring people. According to George R. Terry, management is a distinct process performed to determine and accomplish stated objectives by the use of human beings and other resources. Thus, management is the effective utilization of human and material resources to achieve the organizational objectives. Frenchman Henri Fayol considers management to consist of 5 functions: 1. Planning, 2. Organizing, 3. Leading, 4. Coordinating, 5. Controlling. According to him, to manage is to forecast and plan, to organize, to command, to coordinate and to control. However, modern authors do not consider coordination as a function of management. They consider it as an essence of managing. To W. Jack Duncan, management consists of all organizational activities that involve goal formation and accomplishment, performance appraisal, and the development of an operating philosophy that ensures the organization's survival within the social system. Some people, however, find this definition, while useful, far too narrow. The phrase management is what managers do occurs widely, suggesting the difficulty of defining management, the shifting nature of definitions, and the connection of managerial practices with the existence of a managerial cadre or class. Fig. 1.1. Systems approach to management. 1.4 Management and administration terminological conflict. The conflict between the usages of the two terms, administration and management, was first raised by Oliver Sheldon in 1923 when he emphasized administration as decision-making function and management as executive function. Since then a debate is very often raised as to whether or not there is a difference between the two terms. On the analysis of the various conflicting views expressed in this regard, three conclusions can be drawn. I. Administration is a determinative function and management is an executive function. 2. Administration is a part of management, i.e. management is a generic term and includes administration. 2. There is no distinction between management and administration. 1st April 2001. Administration is a determinative function and management is an executive function. Some authors, notably William Newman, William R. Spriegel, Ordway-Teed and Oliver Sheldon, believed that administration and management involve different functions. Administration involves the overall setting of major objectives, determination of policies and major decision-making. However, management is essentially concerned with execution of these policies and decisions through the active direction of human efforts with a view to getting things done. In the words of Spriegel, 1957, administration is that phase of a business enterprise that concerns itself with the overall determination of institutional objectives and the policies necessary to be followed in achieving those objectives. Management, on the other hand, is an executive function, which is principally concerned with carrying out broad policies laid down by the administration. Similar view is held by Millward, 1960. Administration is primarily the process and the agency used to establish the object or purpose which an undertaking and its staff are to achieve. Secondarily, administration has to plan to stabilize the broad lines or principles which will govern action. These broad lines are usually called policies. Management is the process and agency through which execution of policy is planned and supervised. Thus, it could be said that administration by and large is more determinative, whereas management, by and large, is essentially executive. 1st April 2002. Administration is a part of management, i.e. management is a generic term and includes administration. This view is represented by the British School of Management thought advocated by E. F. Brach. According to him, management is a social process entailing responsibility for the effective and economic planning and regulation of the operation of an enterprise in fulfillment of a given purpose or task. This responsibility involves I. Making appropriate programs and procedures according to plans, and 2. Organizing, directing and supervising the individuals in the organization. Accordingly, management can be divided into three levels. Top management, this is responsible for formulation of the policy. Middle management, this is also called departmental management, which is responsible for planning, organizing, directing and controlling. And supervisory management, this is the lowest level of management and is responsible for supervision and expert decisions regarding the technologies of operation. Thus, management includes all activities from laying down the objectives, planning, organizing, control, coordination and supervision so that the objectives are achieved. 1.4. 3. There is no distinction between management and administration. This viewpoint does not differentiate between the two terms administration and management. According to McFarland, the terms administration and management are synonymous, though he has pointed out minute distinction between these two terms in practice. According to him, in government agencies, administration is preferred over management, although in recent years the term management has become widely used in government agencies. According to Lewis Allen, administration is the total planning, organizing, coordinating, motivating and controlling works. Here Allen uses the term administration in place of management. According to Wheeler, business management is the human activity which directs and controls the organization and operations of a business enterprise. Management is centered in the administrators or managers of the firm who integrate men, money and material into an effective operating unit. The above discussion does not resolve the terminological conflict between management and administration. If the entire theories, principles, processes and objectives of both management and administration are analyzed, it may be found that both have the same set of functions and objectives and hence same theories and principles. The difference between management and administration can be made theoretically and conceptually, however practically there is no difference. It appears reasonable to use the term management to signify the different aspects of managerial activity. It is the same set of individuals who perform both sets of activities, i.e., framing the policies, the administrative activities, and executing them. Besides, since management is often divided into three levels, the top, middle, and the supervisory level, it covers all the activities of administration and management. Every manager spends a part of his/her time in performing administrative functions and the remaining on execution. However, the managers who are higher up in the hierarchy devote more time to administrative functions, i.e., laying down of policies, determination of the objectives, etc. And the managers at the lower levels are concerned more with directing, controlling and supervisory functions of management. Fig. 1.2. Fig. 1.2 Time spent in carrying out managerial functions. Look at the screen. Figure 1.2 shows an approximation of the relative time spent for each function. Thus, top-level managers spend more time on planning and organizing than lower-level managers. Leading, on the other hand, take great deal of time for first-line supervisors. The difference in time spent on controlling varies only slightly for managers at various levels. 1.5 Educational management. In order to understand the management of education in the country, it is necessary to understand its structure. Generally, educational system in a country is organized on the basis of the levels, stages, of education, each of which is identified with a specific level of attainment. These stages are elementary education, which encompasses both primary and upper primary education, secondary education, senior secondary education, general education, vocational education, and post-secondary senior secondary education, higher education and all forms of professional and technical education. At present 10+2+3 pattern is being followed throughout our country. Schooling comprises 2 years of pre-primary education, 8 years of elementary education, I8, divided into 5 years of primary, IV, and 3 years of upper primary, 6-8, followed by 2 years of secondary education and culminating in 2 years of senior secondary education. On completing secondary school, students can opt for either academic stream, which further branches into arts, commerce, science or vocational stream, each of 2 years. The option of joining the industrial training institutes and polytechnics is open to students after middle level, class 8, and secondary school examination respectively. The senior secondary school certificate, +2, enables students to higher education courses of study in general education or technical and professional courses. Consequently, we have educational institutions of various kinds. Primary schools, middle schools, secondary schools, institutions of higher learning viz. Colleges, universities, etc. Normally when one speaks about educational management, it is the management of these institutions that one is likely to have in focus. However, education being a social system deeply affects the lives of people as a whole, and thus the role of governments in the management of education becomes inevitable. It is only the government of a country which considers various issues in the broader perspective of a nation's interests. Most governments frame a national policy on education to provide a broader framework, ensure the implementation of the policy, and formulate legislations that provide for the regulatory framework within which the private and public sectors function in the field of education, as it cannot run all educational institutions directly. Generally, the overall framework that most governments provide would cover educational structure, levels of education, standards of attainment at each stage, mobility from one stage to another, organization of institution at each level, times resources, grants, sources of finance, fees and other resources, management patterns, etc. Curriculum, subjects to be taught, contents of courses. National core curriculum may be in the form of a model only, examinations at the national or institutional level, etc. Times academic resource. Qualifications prescribed centrally by law or determined by the institutions on the basis of models or guidelines, recruitment and training of teachers, their conditions of service, etc. Times performance assessment and review, performance audit of institutions, organizational systems, review of policies, changes in directions, etc. The role played by governments will vary depending on the structure of governance in the country. Countries like India, having a federal structure, have a largely decentralized system in which states perform most of the management functions, and also the local self-governments play major responsibility, especially in the areas of finance and management within the parameters of the policy laid down at the national level. However, in a fully centralized system, the education system is run by the central government authority. Thus, organization of education can be seen in terms of three-tiered systemic structure times a meta-system that operates at the national level and is managed by central government. It is responsible for formulation of policies, funding, etc. Here the management is far removed from where the action lies. A meta-system that functions primarily in the sphere of execution of the national policy and includes various agencies established for managing, i.e., planning, coordinating, regulating and evaluating specific areas of education, university education, technical education, teacher education, medical education, etc., assigned to them. The institutional system, which is concerned with prescribing courses, appointing teachers and administrative ministerial staff, admitting students, imparting instruction, evaluating students, and managing finances and administration. This system forms the core of the educational system. Educational management encompasses the management of these systems. Before discussing the functions of educational management, it may be pertinent to point out that important issues in the system of education in India are to redefine. The concept of educational management enlist learning outcomes, recast the curricula, and orient the teaching learning methodology for meeting the future requirements of educational management in India. 1.6 The functions of educational management. All the organizational systems function in a planned and coordinated manner to achieve their objectives. This is true of education too. The objectives may vary depending on the level at which the management operates. For example, at the apex level the objectives are significantly different from those at the institutional level. Nevertheless, at all levels, the functions would more or less be identical. The managerial functions are essentially the same regardless of the type of organization or the level of managers in the organization. To understand the functions of management, let us analyze what the managers do. Reser, 1973, suggested that managers are the people who times set objectives for using available resources, formulate plans for achieving these objectives, times identify the activities to be performed, organize the activities into groups, departments, define the tasks to be done,
group the tasks into jobs, staff the job with people, initiate work activities, supply incentives to stimulate productivity, set up controls to measure the achievement of objectives, take remedial action if the objectives are not being met. In a sort of summary of the above points, Reser asserted that management is the utilization of physical and human resources through cooperative efforts, and it is accomplished by performing the functions of planning, organizing, staffing, directing and controlling. Though these suggestions were given by Reser while writing about general and industrial management, his suggestions were equally relevant to educational management. In education, the management functions are essentially performed at different levels and to different degrees by the different management personnel in the ministries, school boards and schools, including planners, administrators and inspectors or supervisors. These functions can be broadly categorized as planning, organizing, staffing, leading/directing, controlling. 1.6.1 Planning. Planning is the basic function of management and is the primary requisite of every management function, whether it is organizing, staffing, directing or controlling. But this does not mean that planning is an isolated activity required in the beginning only. This is a continuous and unending process and other functions are performed simultaneously. Planning seeks to answer multitude of the questions. Why is an action necessary? What is to be done? How is it to be done? When is it to be done? Who will do it? What physical resources will be required? Why an action at all is to be undertaken reveals that action has some objectives and targets which are decided at the initial stage. What actions are to be taken to correlate actions with objectives? How and when to be done generates policy, program, procedure, budgeting and other related elements. Thus, planning is a process by which managers set objectives, make an overall assessment of the future and chart courses of action to accomplish the short and long-term objectives of an organization. It involves I. Establishing goals, or deciding on aims and objectives. 2. Determining where the organization or subunit stands relative to the goal. 2. Developing planning premises. 4. Charting out, or developing, various alternative courses of action for reaching the desired goals. V. Evaluating these alternatives and choosing from among them the most suitable, or, at least a satisfactory, alternative for reaching the goal. Y. Determining and allocating the resources required and 7. Ensuring that plans are communicated to all concerned. Figure 1.2 Planning of Management. Successful planning has to be based on a searching look within, a broad look around and a long look ahead. E. W. Rayleigh, 1955. The implications are 1. The look within involves thorough reviews of organizational assets, including human resources, facilities and equipment, location and patents and trademarks. 2. The broad look around, as the name implies, relations-oriented, focusing upon such factors as the organization's relations with suppliers, leaders, customers, and the community. 3. The look long ahead combines the above factors with forecasts that relate the present to the future. A plan is just a program of action regarding one future. It is not a guarantee for action. In other words, planning does not automatically guarantee success in accomplishing organizational objectives. Yet managers plan for the future. This is because planning offers many advantages, like it provides a sense of direction to the organization. It is related to performance. It helps eliminate uncertainties and anticipates problems in advance. It provides guidelines for decision making. It facilitates control. It helps to focus on objectives. What planning is not. Planning does not attempt to make future decisions. Rather, planning involves choosing the more desirable future alternatives so that better current decisions can be made. In fact, it provides a frame of reference within which the current decisions are to be made. At the same time, a plan often leads to additional but related decisions. For example, a university plans to introduce a new degree or diploma necessitates the need for decisions like, what should be the duration of the course leading to a degree, together with the detailed curriculum, system of evaluation, etc. Secondly, planning is not merely forecasting or making projections. Forecasts are just estimates of the future. They indicate what may or may not happen. However, planning goes beyond that. Thirdly, planning is not static. It involves continuous analysis and adjustments of the plans and even objectives in the context of changing circumstances. 1.6.2 Organizing. Organizing is the management function that establishes relationships between activity and authority. It refers to the following 4 distinct activities. Determining the specific activities that are to be undertaken to achieve the organizational goals. Classifying the activities needed in various categories and then grouping them into several managerial work units. Assigning the activities to individuals and delegating the appropriate authority, designing a hierarchy of decision-making roles and relationships. The 2 managerial functions, viz., planning and organizing, are inseparably linked up with each other. In the words of Plunkett and Etna, organizing begins with and is governed by plans. An organization must be built, or an existing one must be modified, to see to it that plans are executed and that their goals are reached. The organization must be able to concentrate its resources in a unified way to translate plans from intentions to realities. In operational terms, what and how of plans will have to be formulated into specific sets of activities that can be assigned to people for implementing them. For example, different subsystems of a school or a university have to perform set of functions and activities necessary to achieve the purpose of the institution. 1.6.3 Leading/directing. Planning, organizing and staffing are merely preparations for doing the work. The work actually starts when the managers start performing the direction function. We can plan and organize, but no tangible results can be achieved until we implement the proposed course of action. This needs directing, which literally means moving into action. It is the interpersonal aspect of management which deals directly with influencing, guiding, supervising and motivating the subordinates for the accomplishment of predetermined objectives. It includes issuing orders and instructions that are clear, complete and within the capabilities of the team members and staff to accomplish, and knowing their reactions by encouraging two-way communication. Guiding and orienting/facilitating the subordinates about procedures and methods to carry out the activities. Supervising the personnel and other team members from need to time to find out if they are working according to the orders, instructions and standards. Motivating the team members by providing financial and non-financial incentives to satisfy the needs of the team members and to try to meet the objectives. Maintaining the discipline, rewarding those who perform properly. Direction function is very challenging as well as sensitive or difficult to perform, as it deals with the human factor. In order to achieve effective cooperation of the members of the organization, it is essential to understand their needs, nature and culture. 1.6.4 Controlling. Control is the process that consists of verifying whether everything occurs in conformity with the plans adopted, the instructions issued and the principles established. It also involves pointing out weaknesses and errors in order to rectify them and prevent recurrence. It, thus, presupposes the existence of certain plans. They provide the standards of performance which are the basis of controlling. Thus, planning and controlling are closely associated, as without planning, controlling cannot be established. The scope of managerial control is very wide. It covers almost all the areas, namely policies, procedures, individuals, machines and equipments, human relations, research and development, and so on. Control may be I. Physical and 2. Financial. Physical control may be either quantitative or qualitative. They are exercised by personal supervision and checking. Financial control is exercised through budgetary control and cost accounting control. Steps in the control process. 4 basic steps are required to perform the control function. They are: 1. Establishment of standards of performance to ensure that performance is in accordance with the plan. I. Appraisal of performance. 3. Comparison of performance with the predetermined standards to know whether performance has come up to the expected standard or if there is any deviation. 4. Taking corrective actions if the standards are not being met so that deviations may not occur again and the objectives of the organization are met. To conserve managerial time, effort and talent and apply these in important areas, classical management thinkers have put forward the principle of management by exception for organizational control. This principle holds that only significant deviations, exceptions, from standards of performance should be brought to the management's attention and not the ones which do not require any follow-up action. For the smooth functioning of any control system, the cooperation of all team members is must. It can be expected only when the subordinates feel that control is a positive force and is desirable. For this purpose, the management must seek their views while setting standards and implementing various kinds of control. Besides, for an effective control system, accountability for the results must be fixed so that in case of any deviations, the concerned members can be guided, directed and reprimanded if necessary. 1.6.5 Staffing. People are the most important resource of an organization. They supply the necessary manpower in all its aspects, talent, skills, knowledge and experience, to enable an organization to achieve its stated goals or objectives. Thus it logically follows that for an organization to survive and prosper, it must be able to identify, select, develop and retain qualified and motivated personnel and, most importantly, forecast its future manpower needs. It is the staffing function of management which takes care of all these activities. Perhaps the best definition of staffing has been suggested by Carl R. Anderson. According to him, staffing begins with strategic plan for the organization that defines the different kinds of jobs people will have to do. Staffing is concerned with fitting people to these jobs, matching the skills and abilities of the person with the requirements of the job. It is also concerned with training people as job requirements change and managing their careers over their work life. Figure 1.3. Steps in the staffing process. Steps involved in the staffing process. Various steps are involved in the staffing process. These steps are different, but closely related too. They are as follows. 1. Strategic and tactical plans. Staffing starts with the overall strategic and tactical plans for the organization. In fact, the kind of roles and responsibilities people will be expected to undertake and carry out and the skills needed for each job are determined by long-range goals of the organization. 2. Human resource planning. The major purpose of such planning is to determine future human resource needs relative to an organization's strategic plan and devising the steps necessary to meet those needs. It consists of forecasting manpower demands, that is, determining the number of people required by the organization in the future and skills/abilities they need to have to enable the organization to achieve its objectives. Forecasting manpower supply, that is, comparing the requirements to the inventory of potential candidates within the organization. Developing specific plans for many people to recruit or whom to train from inside the organization to ensure that supply will equal demand at any specified time. 3. Job analysis. Job analysis procedures tell the manager what is involved in each job and what type of skills and kind of experience people need to have to be able to do a job properly. 4. Job descriptions. These are detailed summaries of the different kinds of tasks actually involved in a job. And interviewing opals. 5. Recruiting, screening and interviewing. After determining the human resource, manpower, needs, managers undertake to locate prospective employees. This is accomplished through advertisements in newspapers, professional journals, like the university news, employment exchanges, contacts with different educational institutes, voluntary applicants, referrals by current employees, and the identification of the candidates within the organization who have the potential to fill the vacant positions. This step is basically concerned with identification of a pool of candidates capable of doing the work. It is quite obvious that larger the applicant pool, the better the chance of finding someone who closely matches the job requirements, the so-called law of large numbers. 6. Selection. It involves evaluating the candidates and choosing the one whose skills and abilities match job requirements very closely. This process includes I. Filling an application form, 2. Preliminary screening, 3. Selection test, 4. Interview, v. Reference checks, and y. Physical examination. 7. Job orientation, training and development. Once selected, the new member must undergo a period of informal socialization or orientation training, during which time he or she learns the unwritten and written rules governing behavior in the organization. This transitional period of informal socialization is called job orientation. Besides, there is also a need to train new organizational members to enable them to handle their new positions. If needed, additional training could be provided to those who require and who have moved to new positions or the requirements of their current job has been altered. It is also essential for the organization to identify new and enriching positions into which they can promote deserving employees and managers, which will also result in additional training and development sessions for such individuals. 8. Career management. It is concerned with helping people set realistic job goals and giving them suitable opportunities to meet these goals both in the short run and long run. It serves two important purposes. I. It achieves a close match between employee and a job through planning, and 2. It helps retain highly efficient people who might seek a change elsewhere for better career prospects. This is equally important in educational organizations, as education sectors have experienced phenomenal growth and transformation in the teaching-learning environment. As a result, it suffers from continual adequately qualified and experienced manpower shortages. 9. Performance appraisal. This step is concerned with appraising the performance of an employee in relation to job standards and then giving them feedback about actual job performance. 10. Employment decisions and distinctions. Performance appraisal enables management to make decisions about employment, which involve monetary rewards, transfers, promotions, and demotions. 1.7 Skills needed by administrators and managers. For effective management of the educational organizations, the managers need to have various skills. The importance of these skills varies according to the level of management in the organization. Fig. 1.4 Functions of an educational manager. Robert L. Katz has identified three kinds of skills for administrators/managers. These include technical skills, human skills, and conceptual skills. To this, Kuntz and Wehrich have added a fourth skill, the ability to design solutions. The skills are 1.7.1 Technical skills. Technical skills refer to the ability of a person to carry out a specific activity. For doing so, one needs to have knowledge of methods, processes, and procedures. These skills are essential for supervisory level managers so that they are able to teach their subordinates the use of specific tools and techniques to perform the tasks assigned to them and clarify their doubts in work-related problems. For example, as a teacher of secondary and senior secondary level, he or she must have B.Ed training certificate, and a librarian would also need a degree in library science, i.e. same as applicable to other types of personnel and staff in an educational institution. 1.7.2 Human skills. Human skills refer to the ability of a person to work well with other people in the group, to lead, to motivate, and communicate with people to accomplish certain objectives, to create an environment in which people feel secure and free to express their opinions. These skills are important for managers at all levels in the organization. The Course 3 is devoted to organizational behavior and discusses these aspects in detail. Refer to Course May 043, Organizational Behavior 1.7.3 Conceptual Skills. Conceptual skills refer to the ability of a person to conceptualize abstract situations to understand and coordinate the full range of institutional objectives and activities. As top-level managers have the greatest need to see the big picture, to recognize significant elements in the situation, to understand the relationship among the elements. 1.7.4 Administrative skills. Administrative skills refer to planning, organizing, motivating, directing, controlling and coordinating. Using these skills, educational managers make efforts to attain educational goals to serve the interests of students, parents, community and the country. 1.8 Summary. In this unit we dealt with the term management. We also discussed the terminological meaning and process of educational management. Management is the process of science as well as art. It recognizes art because the performance of managerial/principal functions requires certain skills. And it represents science because it has developed various principles. In addition to the above discussion on functions, principles and various skills have been discussed in a detailed manner to have a better understanding of educational management. Thank you. Subscribe to our channel for more updates, and we will see you with the next chapter.